Hello, hello, fearless listeners. Are you ready for another episode of Let Fear Bounce? It's the podcast that's all about conquering challenges and facing our fears. I'm your host, Kim Lengling, and each week we'll dive into inspiring stories, expert insights, and practical tips to help you turn your fear into your greatest ally. So sit back, relax, grab that cup of coffee, and let's discover how to make fear our bouncing board towards a life filled with endless possibilities right here on Let Fear Bounce. Hello, hello, everybody. Welcome to another episode of Let Fear Bounce. This is Kim Lengling, your host, and I'm so happy that you've decided to spend just a small part of your day with myself and my special guest today, Mark Steven Porro. He is a New Jersey native, and he earned an industrial design degree from the Ohio State University. And after years of agency work, his love of acting led him to Hollywood, where he appeared in dozens of television, film, and stage productions. And he is also an award-winning designer, writer, director, and now an Amazon best-selling author. He has written lots of jokes and several screenplays and one award-winning short film. His book, A Cup of Tea on the Commode, is a sad, sweet, and funny debut memoir that chronicles his multitasking adventures of filling his mother's last years with love, laughter, and joy. Though not always successful, he came pretty damn close. Mark, welcome to Let Fear Bounce.
Thank you. It's good to be here.
I was excited. First off, I love the title of the book, A Cup of Tea on the Commode.
Yeah.
Love that. Certainly catches your eye. And congratulations on that becoming a best-selling book.
It just won an award too. So I'm an award-winning writer.
Oh my
now,
goodness.
So
Yes. Cool. Awesome. So what was the award?
Book excellence. So it won in the category of caregiving. Just last week, I think I got that notice. So hopefully some more will roll in as well, because it's pretty good. I mean, it's my first book. I'm a pretty good writer. I have I guess a unique voice, and I found a publisher with this book, and they helped fine tune it, and they were great. We had a really good collaboration. I worked with two different editors, and so I know it's good. I mean, the message is good. How good the book is, I don't know. They say one critic wrote, it's like sitting down at the kitchen table having a discussion with Mark, which
Awesome.
is nice.
Yes, that's high praise, actually.
Oh, good. Yeah. So, I mean, I wanted to keep it very conversational.
Mm-hmm.
I was more of a math and science guy than an English guy. You know, both of my parents were pretty unique, and really, they both had really good senses of humor. And so hopefully, luckily, a lot of that was passed down to their kids. They had 6 kids, and I tried to infuse the humor throughout the book, which is very important because the subjects can be a little tough. So there's a lot of laughs. My mom made me laugh a lot. And my goal initially jumping in was to make her laugh at least once a day. She did that to me quite a bit as well. So she was good.
And how long did you care for her?
The book chronicles my, I guess, 3.5-year journey. In 2012, about 9 days after her 89th birthday is when it all began. She just kind of shut down. I think she was very depressed, wasn't happy with the situation at home. She was in her home, the home we all grew up in, and she was not happy. We had people living in there, and they didn't get along with her, and she didn't get along with them, and it was weighing on her. So I think she just wanted to check out. So we all came home. And after a number of weeks of, I called it a semi-comatose state, she snapped out of it. And I think I have a chapter in the book called A Silent Scream. And it was, I think, a scream for help. She wanted love back into the house and into her life. And once I realized that, it was a pretty easy decision to come back and take over. The logistics of doing that were a little more difficult, but I was raised in this family to care for others, and they certainly did with all of us. And my siblings were great, and they all kind of yielded and let me kind of take over. I'm the 5th kid, 3rd son, and I have 3 sisters, and they all kind of let me do it. And It certainly made it a lot easier because that I hear from other people that could be kind of difficult and challenging. Being the tallest may have had something to do with that. So
There you go. Yeah.
it's I'm doing it. But I had a really cool relationship with both of my folks. I was a very curious kid, asked a lot of questions. I was kind of a mediator in their marriage at various points. So it was easy. Mom trusted me. I was a first-time parent. So I kind of went in not knowing totally what to expect, other than I'm going to make her life better. And I'll do what I got to do. And so there's some sacrifices you make and stuff, but it was the right thing to do, and certainly for me a joyful thing to do, and to see the reaction on her face and the people that witnessed her for those once I came in and took over, it was great because I did some things I didn't know. She was on hospice care for 6 months in the beginning when she shut down, so I learned what I could from hospice. I wanted to be a good student, so my younger sister and I both hung out with hospice because we said we want to change diapers, we want to change the bedding, we want to be with our mother as much as possible because it was death watch.
Right.
So I learned from the pros.
It is a journey. It is a journey. Back in the day for me, I was in home health care. I set up services with families, and I worked very closely with the hospice social workers and would be with them when they would visit families. They are a breed unto their own. They are amazing people, and I learned so much from them that I still utilize today.
Yeah.
Yeah. So yeah, what a blessing it was that you were able to do that, to take care of your mom and learn and have your heart open enough to be able, to say, I want to learn, or we want to learn, you and your sister want to learn, show us, teach us, because we want to give mom the best care. So, kudos to you, because that is a big thing to take on. It truly is.
Well, yes, I didn't know it exactly. You jump in. I've had a pretty adventurous life, and I've jumped into a lot of things, and you go in with the right attitude, and you make it work out. And a lot of things fell into place, it seemed. I had a business in LA. My acting career was kind of on the wane because I was aging out of that. I was in my mid-50s, and I had a snack food business that my brother and I started to honor my father and his snack invention of a half popcorn snack we called Grandpa Poe's Originals at the time. But we lost our national distribution, so that was slowing down. And this whole thing happened in 2012, and so I made the decision, and everything worked out. I would have to go back to LA every few months to satisfy my current customers with the snack food. I had a sister that flew in from California to fill in for me, so she always had a family member with her. Yeah, so it's fun that how the world all comes and supports your decision. Once you make that commitment, it worked out very well. Though one thing I didn't listen to with the pros, they always say you got to take care of yourself and take breaks. And my mother almost outlived me. I had some medical emergencies. I had to go through 3 emergency surgeries to save my life. I got pretty close, I think, on the first one. And they said that was stress related. And being a guy, you're going, I can handle this, I can handle this, I can handle this. And all of a sudden, boom, you're in the emergency room. So that was, I guess, a little scary and eye-opening.
Yeah, and you found out there's a big reason caregiver burnout is so real.
Yeah, I did a podcast with a gentleman who specializes in the stress of caregivers. And I think he said it's over 30% of the caregivers die before their patients. And
wow, I did not know it was 30%.
It's pretty high. And
wow.
And I almost lived it, so I can understand it.
Goodness. Well, and speaking, you lived it. You've had an interesting life. That small portion of the bio that I read, your journey that got you to where you are now, industrial design degree, and then agency work, your love of acting. So, and you've appeared in dozens of television, film, and stage productions. Where did the acting bug come from?
I would have to blame my mom. I have a chapter in the book called Our Champion of the Arts. And she loved the arts, and we would take jaunts to New York to go Radio City Music Hall, the World's Fair, and the theater. She loved the ballet. There was a gentleman, Peter Gennaro. He wasn't from our town, but he lived close, and he was a big jazz choreographer. And he appeared with his dancers quite a bit on the Ed Sullivan Show. So Sunday night we would watch, and back then the Ed Sullivan Show was great because you had flamenco dancers, you had ballet dancers, you had Peter Gennaro and his jazz dancers, and it was so much fun. Even the plate twirlers. But we loved the dance. And so all of us got into the ballet. I was a reluctant guy to do it. My brother was like the only guy, I think, in the studio. It was Irene Fokine's studio in Ridgewood, New Jersey. She was a pretty strict Russian ballet teacher. And I was a pretty stubborn and a willful kid. And so we had battles once I jumped in. But it all started in my sister and brother were like little stars. And they were performing in Lincoln Center with the Royal Danish Ballet. Not much dancing, but they were young and they had really cool costumes. And I went backstage with my mom to see them. And some guy bursts through the door and says, "We need another little kid." And he locks eyes at me and says, you want to be in the show? And I'm like, I hesitated. I didn't know what to say. And he says, "We'll pay you." And I went, okay, now I'm a pro. So that's how I started. I got paid $5 a show. And I got a great costume. I think my brother was jealous. It was a very cool costume. And we stood on top of this bridge as the real dancers were all performing. And on cue, we had to throw flowers. And so we were in this period piece and it was lovely. And I'm like, now I'm a pro. Now I was hooked. So then I started taking ballet lessons. And then I wanted to be a doctor. So in 8th grade, well, I quit ballet at around 11. I retired at 11. My battle with Irene Fokine ended it. So I think I always had that bug. I liked performing. I wrote funny songs on the guitars, and my friends and I used to do some crazy concerts. And I always liked creating stuff. I had a really strong creative side. So I think the acting bug was in there somewhere. And then when I was designing, I graduated from Ohio State. I had a great design job, and our receptionist was a model. And she said, "You should try it." And so I went and signed up and started doing modeling and then TV commercials. And this was all in Columbus, Ohio. And I think that's where I got the bug, because I started getting hired for commercial because they said you can act. Gave up a good design career. I had a design job actually waiting for me in LA. So I went out to LA. I had a connection with an agent who was my first agent, and not a great agent. I probably slowed the career down a bit, but I was very loyal since she was my first. And I started studying right away. So I studied most of my time out there because it's like it's an instrument. You got to keep it tuned up and everything. So I did a lot of theater study and a lot of work. And my first job was on Hill Street Blues. That was my goal. Again, serendipity. You set a goal. So I said, I want to be on a good quality show. That was one of the top shows at the time. And if you got on that show, then you had a certain level that people of respect around the industry. So and other stuff followed from that. So it was
awesome. I used to watch Hill Street Blues.
Yeah, it was fun. I had a good scene with Veronica Hamill. I was the assistant DA just on one episode, I think in their last or second to last season. And the guy playing the judge was an actor, Jeffrey Tambor, who ended up being a fellow classmate and also a substitute teacher at the Beverly Hills Playhouse, where I studied for many years. And so my first scene was as a lawyer in the theater, and he was the guy critiquing me at the time because the other teacher took off that particular night. And so it was very funny. I said, we know each other. We did this show a few years ago. He goes, "Was I nice?" And I said, "Yes, you were very nice."
How fun. How fun it is when those connections come back together like that.
Yeah.
So you got the acting. Okay, what commercials were you in? Now I'm curious.
Oh my God. Well, in Ohio, I can't even remember. I mean, it wasn't any big time stuff. And then you do like insurance commercials, and I did a car commercial for I forget one of the main guys, but it was, I think, for the Mexican market. that ran for like 3 years. I
Oh,
made a
wow.
fortune off of that. I said, nobody told anybody in Mexico we changed the cars every year. I think they cut out certain parts and they inserted them. So, but commercials are what they call, I can't swear on your thing. Anyway, agents call it your FU money,
Oh,
meaning
okay.
you do commercials, you make a lot of money off it. So you don't have to go for these bit parts on TV and in
Right.
film, because you could say, I don't need the money. I want, I want to audition for a good part. So,
Yeah. And you ended up
yeah,
getting royalties from that car commercial that they showed in a different country for 3 years.
as long as someone's monitoring it, because we did, sometimes you can't. I had a friend of mine who was Mexican, and he was back in Mexico for visiting family, and he saw my commercial after it expired. And so he told me, I called my agent and said, look into this. And we got a fortune because we caught him. So our union dues are amazing, because somebody I still get checks, even for Hill Street Blues, 40 years later, because someone is monitoring all this stuff. So it's amazing work they do.
It's good that that's being done, because
Yeah.
I'm sure back in the day it was not as closely monitored as it may be now. And
And I
people,
still think that people get away with it because you hear stories once in a while from friends.
I'm
And
sure.
I have a nice pension coming up from acting and stuff. So it's, yeah, that was a nice surprise. So I
Yeah.
haven't collected it yet. So you still get residuals. I did a small part in Castaway. I replaced the navigator, the original navigator, who ended up being a friend of mine. And actually, the France got me that job. So I had to replace this guy. So I had to look kind of like him. He had another commitment. So I came in and talked to the producer, and he says, okay, you got the look. Now, this is what's going to happen. You're going to be on what we call a gimbal, meaning it's like a roller coaster for 3 days, because this was all the plane crash. And he said, you're going to be like this for 3 days, shaking. Can you handle that? And I said, listen, I dated a French girl for 7 months. I can handle anything. And he laughed, and I knew I got the part. So I called up my ex-French girlfriend at the time and told her, you just got me a good role.
Yeah.
So thank you. The
Yeah.
misery you put me through helped. So,
So you were in
and
Castaway.
well, you wouldn't even notice me, because the other guy was established. And I tried, because I was in there for 3 days. Most of the dialogue is me. And I kept trying to turn, because Tom Hanks was back here. And during the crash sequence, I'm in the back right, and Tom is over here. So I kept trying to turn, and Zemeckis would say, cut, Mark, you can't turn to the camera. I say, I'm in a movie with Tom Hanks in the Kevin Bacon game. I'm a #1 here. This is good. So do you know about that? 7 Degrees of Kevin Bacon
7 Degrees of Kevin Bacon.
is a game where in Hollywood, everybody was somehow connected to Kevin Bacon. He's the 6 degrees of separation from everybody.
Oh,
So
okay.
since I work with Hanks, I was a #1, which is great. Not many people got that.
Well,
So
and not many people can say, yeah, you're right. Not many people can say that they worked with Tom Hanks in the
yeah, and
normal
Robert
realm of
Zemeckis,
things.
yeah, and then Spielberg produced it, so he was on the set when I was there. So it was, yeah, it was
How
cool. So
awesome.
once you do those, you say, hey, I'm doing the big movies now. This was
That's
great, but
right. That's right.
that was the only one I did.
But you were brushing along, right? You were brushing along with the famous,
I'm hanging out with the famous.
That's
Yeah,
right. How
yeah,
fun. And something to look back on and say, how fun that was.
yeah.
How neat. So do you do any acting or anything like that now?
No, I'm not allowed to work in France. I almost, Ridley Scott did a film here right around COVID time, before COVID hit. And I actually got offered a 3-day role on that. And then they asked me for my paperwork. And I said, I don't have paperwork. I said, I'm a union actor in the US and blah, blah. And they said that you have to have French paperwork, and I'm not allowed to work here. I'm here as I guess, a visitor. I have a 10-year resident permit, but yeah,
Okay.
officially I said I'm a retiree is I guess my status. So that was a shame, because I said, listen, I'll work for free to work with Ridley Scott. And they said, we'll check into it. And they called me back and they said, no, we can't do it.
Oh, so you can't even volunteer.
No, at least not with, he wanted everything by the book. And that movie ended up being terrible anyway, so it was fine. Matt Damon was in it, Ben Affleck, and Adam Driver. It was like The Last Duel or something like that.
I did not see.
Yes, exactly. I don't think anybody saw it. It's too bad. They had a
Those
great,
are big names in it.
yeah, you had
Just
great
because you have
cast
a
and a
big
great
name
script.
doesn't mean it's going to be good.
No, you never know.
Yeah, you never know.
You never know.
Golly. Okay, so back to the book, because I just jump around a lot here. Back to the book, A Cup of Tea on the Commode. Where did that title come from? How'd that pop in your head?
Well, so my mom was bedridden, and so we had to move a commode bedside. And sometimes Mother Nature took a little longer than was comfortable for any of us. Her favorite beverage was a hot tea, skim milk, and no sugar. So I asked her one morning, would you like a cup of tea? And she said yes, and it became a hit. And so that was our morning ritual. She sat on the commode for some minutes and she got a cup of hot tea. And it was so I thought that was a kind of a catchy title, and it's worked out pretty good.
I love the title because I don't, to me, the title automatically said to me, real life right there,
Yeah. Yeah.
not glazing over anything to make things pretty.
Yeah.
Because, if you read
Yeah.
about what your book is about, that sums it up right there. A cup of tea on the commode. Yeah, life isn't pretty. And if you want to sit there and have some quality time with your mom, sometimes you have to sit there and do that while she's on the commode having a cup of tea.
Right. Now, there were other things too. My approach was a little different. So I think I had kind of a romantic notion with my mom, and I wanted her. One of the things I discovered was wanting to feel pretty doesn't end at 90. And so one of the first things I did, because I thought she could have looked better than whoever was taking care of her at the time, and the wardrobe was terrible. So I bought her a new wardrobe. These day dresses were drab and dull, and she looked like an old lady. And I said, no, not this doesn't work for my mom. So there is a fashion niche that needs to be filled, which is attractive clothing for senior citizens. I mean, I went shopping and I had to endure the creepy old women staring at me, or the suspicious sales ladies as I'm going through the aisles of ladies' clothing and stuff. So I eventually found some good stuff, not for senior citizens, but that fit my mom online. And she loved it, and it was great. And then I created, she worked full time. She was a proofreader for the Bergen Record, which was the largest newspaper in New Jersey at the time. And so she worked all nights, and she had her 6 kids, and my dad was a chemist all day, so it was interesting. So I think that's what kept the marriage going. They had separate lives. So she treated herself once a week to a trip to the beauty salon, where she got her nails done and she had a set or wash and a set. So I wanted to recreate that at home. Her nails were gorgeous, and they were still gorgeous. She was a hand model back in her late teens and early 20s. And actually, that was my first modeling job, was a hand job. So just like mom, and my
Awesome.
friends always, yeah, they got a kick out of that, but it paid well. So, and it was legitimate. So I created this day of beauty. So it was another thing about so we did it once a week. It was originally on Sunday, but being a good Catholic woman, she made me change it to Saturday. So while she was on the commode, I would soak her feet in Epsom salts. I would wash her hair, blow dry it, and then after she was done with the commode, she got a full sponge bath, which she got twice a day anyway, in the morning and the evenings, and then a full body massage. And she got to pick her wardrobe once we got her dressed up with a new diaper and new clothing. Then I would blow dry her hair and put it in a ponytail or braid it. And then I would do her nails, and then give her finish it off with nice bright red lipstick. And I didn't think that much of it. So I just do this stuff. And as I'm wheeling her into the kitchen for breakfast, we have a big mirror in the living room or the dining room. I parked her in front of that mirror and said, "Who is that pretty girl?" And she just beamed. And I said, "Oh my gosh, the power of that little gesture was just
Yeah.
amazing." And so every day, whether it was beauty day or not, I parked her in front of that mirror and leaned in cheek to cheek and said, "Who's that pretty girl?" whatever that was, I just felt that was a good thing to do. And the effect on her was amazing. And the effect on everybody who saw her, because she looked great. And then when I would go back to LA, we would FaceTime and I would see her hair not being done right and no makeup and it was terrible. So I don't, some people are, I guess, certainly more sensitive to this than I was, or less sensitive than I was. And I also gave her first bubble bath in years, probably. I renovated the entire house because my goal was, again, not only to make her laugh, but return her dignity. So that's where the clothing, the day of beauty and stuff. So I renovated the whole house too, because the house was in need of repair, and it was a house we all grew up in. So as I renovated certain rooms, I would take my mom, carry her either up or down to take a look and see what I've done. And so I put a big bathtub up in the upstairs bathroom. And so I gave her first bubble bath, and then she passes out in the tub. And I said, great, I tried to do a good thing and I killed my mom.
You killed your mom.
But I said, at least she smelled good. She was fine. And she had no recollection of passing out, but she did remember the new bathroom. So it was a win-win for Mark. No more bubble baths.
No more bubble baths,
Done with
right?
that. Even with my dad, 2 days, I think, or maybe even the day before he passed. Again, he was at home in his bed. He died. I was with both of my folks when they passed. My little sister and I, we gave him a shave. He was always clean shaven, and he had a bit of a stubble, and we knew he would want to be clean shaven for the next life or whatever.
Right.
So and he loved it.
It's wonderful to be able to give that, to provide that, even if they might not know who you are anymore.
Yeah, that's fine.
Yes.
My mom, so I have another chapter in the book, does wiping butt cause amnesia? And so I'm the one who I'm wiping my mom's butt for years. And I'm the only kid whose name she couldn't remember, at least in the beginning. So one day she greeted me with, and so what is it I call you? And I said, are you kidding me? And she says, no. And I said, name your kids. And she rattled them all off. Laurel, Michael, David, Carol, DC. And she had no clue.
Oh,
So I said, I'm Mark. And she says, oh, Mark with a K? I said, yeah. Your favorite son. And she says, I don't have favorites. I said, well, you have a favorite to forget. So I have this chapter in the book, and I think I have proof that it does, in fact, cause amnesia, wiping the
there you
loved
go.
one's
Yeah,
butt.
there you go.
I couldn't take it personally. You gotta roll with the punches, because they're still your mother. They still deserve some dignity and respect. I joke, I said, you got to put yourself in their shoes, or in my mom's case, her non-slip safety socks. Yeah, you adjust, and you got to be flexible, and you don't take it personally, especially if they have some. My mom had a little bit of dementia, not too much. And then after I think a few months, she never forgot my name again. I put a visual aid on her ceiling, though, just in case, with my letters, my name in big block. Yeah. Because when I would greet her in the morning, she'd be looking, she's in bed, and she'd look up and she'd go, oh, hi, Mark. And then look.
See, what a good idea. You have to think outside the box.
Yeah. Well, that's where the design stuff comes in, because in design, now it's become a big buzzword, but it's human-centered design. Every time you design anything, whether it's a brochure or a product, you have to take the end user into account. So you have to empathize with how is that person going to behave with that color, or that, the handle, is it good? Blah, blah. So you have to do the same thing. It's all, like you said, practical. I think a lot of my education and experience, and the acting certainly came into effect, all kind of came together. Again, this is, you make the decision, the world all seems to support it, so I was very fortunate with all that stuff.
Again, what a blessing you were able to be for your mom, in that time of her life, and to provide her with that comfort and dignity that she deserved.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah. What an awesome thing. What an awesome thing. Look, I'm going to get myself a copy of that book. I'm looking forward to reading it. And that's available on Amazon, correct?
Amazon, and I think a lot of other online retailers. It should be in a lot of stores. I think regular bookstores too, because the distributor has it, and it's
Awesome.
also ebook, large print, and regular print paperback. And then I released the audio book, which is I add, I added some fun extras. I have a song, a theme song that I wrote for. That I use with all I got about 150 now YouTube videos, little teasers that I was releasing a year or so before, and I continue to update them. So there's a theme song on there. So that's in the audio book, and then some of my acting comes into the audio book also, I guess. So it's
Awesome. So on
yeah,
any type of platform, you can read or listen to this
yeah.
book.
If anybody's interested, hopefully they are, because it's a fun, it's not a how-to book. It's what I call a what I did book. And
Mhm.
there are some good tips in there, and I know some people have benefited from it. But if they Google a cup of tea on the Commode, it's everywhere, because I'm
Awesome.
on everything from TikTok to Pinterest to Facebook and all that stuff. So we do a lot, and I'm a little bit exhausted from it, but it's fun. It's fun to do it because the reactions and some of the stories that the people have shared with me are just very humbling. It's very cool. And then some people have admitted too that it's too close to home. They can't read it yet. And I said, there's no rush, but there's a lot of laughs in there. I had a friend of mine who just lost her father a month earlier, and she was one of those ones who said, I can't do it yet. But she was flying from LA back to New York. So she took the book with her, and on Facebook, she posted updates. And there were two occasions where she said, I am falling out of my seat. This is so freaking funny. The flight attendants are asking me, what am I reading that make me laugh like this? So that was wonderful. And she ended up thinking it was too soon. And for her, it was a joy to read. So
It was
that was,
probably just what she needed at the
yeah,
time. Yeah. And
I
isn't
think,
it
yeah, it is.
awesome that you're providing that? And was that something that was in the back of your mind that you thought you might be providing, or you just wanted to kind of do this in an homage to your mom?
Well, part of it was, I think I always record family history in a lot of different ways. So I wanted to do this because originally I kept notes and shot videos and photos, and I didn't know what form it was going to take, but I wanted to record family history and because some of the conversations we had were just delightful. And I didn't want family members to miss this stuff. And so that was the original intent. And then I had a couple of friends going through a similar situation with their folks. And I shared some of my experiences, and they got some benefit from it. So I said, I think, there's a lot of other people who could benefit from this. So then I decided the book was the thing, and then it was going to be memoir. And then I studied that genre because that was a whole new genre to me. So I studied with a memoir coach and then read a lot of books.
And now you're an award-winning best-selling author.
That,
Yay.
that's kind of cool. It's fun. I mean, again, that's humbling too, because I cannot remember one book I read in high school.
No, The Lord of the Flies. I think we had to read that in high school.
Maybe I read that one. Treasure Island, I think, is one I remember. Beetle Bailey comic books. I read a lot of those things, but certainly not the things I was assigned. I would read the summary on the back, and that would be my book review or
Right. Yeah. When you had to
book
do book
report.
reports and stuff. Right. Right.
Terrible. Yeah. But now, I mean, I love writing. It started, I guess, seriously in Hollywood. The next book is going to focus more on my dad. There's a lot of my dad in this book, but the next one will focus more on him.
That was
And
my
then,
next question. Do you have another book in you? So you answered it already. You're going to do one for
yeah,
your dad.
there's a lot of as I was editing this book, there were certain chapters that were just better suited for a different book. A lot of that book is written. I just got the structure and stuff is going to be interesting. But
And do you have a title that you're able to share, or is that still under wraps for a bit?
well, right now it's called Slightly Unsalted. Again, a unique name, but my dad invented this popcorn snack in 1963, and it kept it as a family secret because he tried to get it patented, had issues with that. And then some big companies were interested. My dad wasn't happy with the deal they were offering, but it's half popcorns, these crunchy golden nuggets. he invented to keep us away from junk food and candy. And he was fearing impending dental bills, I think was the main motivation. And this stuff was great. And so he got tired of making it in the mid 80s. Again, it was just a family secret. And as my nieces and nephews started coming into the world, they heard about this stuff. He called it Nutrinuts at the time. And I said, boy, it's a shame that they're never going to taste this. So I asked my dad for the recipe and he gave it to me. And I was in LA at the time, and I almost burned down my apartment cooking it the first time because it's a great product, but it's a bit dangerous to cook. And then I tested it at that time I was with the Beverly Hills Playhouse. So my class was like 80 people. They were my test market. And then I started giving it out to people in Hollywood as like an introduction. So I got some acting work and met some really good people through this product. And then my dad passed before we went to market. But a year later, my brother came in with the financial backing, and we went nationwide a couple of years later. We were the snack of the day on the Rachel Ray show, and it was great. But again, I almost died doing that also. So
I don't
it
know
was,
if I've ever had it. What was it called?
it was called, we named it Grandpa Poe's Originals. And it was in Pennsylvania. We were in all the Whole Food stores. We were nationwide with Safeway, and it was on Amazon. It was available online from our own store, but that's also with Amazon. So we were big on the East Coast. My brother handled the East Coast, and we were big on the West Coast with me. And then we got national distribution and lost a fortune with PR people and national distribution. But it was great. We had a good run. It's a shame. It's too messy to make it. I did, my nephews wanted to make some for their mom for her 60th birthday a couple of years ago. So I coached them online to do it. And they actually came out with pretty close. So
awesome. Well, what a neat legacy though that you have.
Yep. Well, again, that was another one to honor my dad. And again, the reactions, because some people who from my hometown and some of my dad's old friends, once I started doing this, they would say, hey, I remember that stuff. I deserve a free case because I was a test dummy. It was really funny. They come out of the woodwork. I'm glad it didn't make zillions of dollars because I would have had a lot of people coming out claiming they owned a piece of that. So
Right, right. Well, how fun. How fun. Hey, we're going to get ready to wrap this up. This has been such an awesome conversation. I've truly enjoyed hearing, learning about your mom and dad. What a pleasure. But I ask all of my guests if they would please toss out a nugget of hope for the listeners out there. So if you've got something that you would like to toss out that the listeners can tuck away and carry with them for the rest of the day, what would your nugget of hope be?
Well, my motto is find the joy. And that that applies to almost everything that I've done. So whether it was quitting a good design career to go try to be an actor, I have in my bio that I started 5 nonprofit companies. None were intended to be. So hold your applause because you learn a lot from failure, and it doesn't stop me from doing other things. So I especially with my mom, because some other, hopefully Laurel won't listen to this, my one sibling, she goes, I don't know how you do this, because she would have a 7-day limit with my mother before she said, my top will blow. I found the joy in it. It wasn't always joyful. I found the joy in it. And when you see her smile, or you get we had certain nights where it would just be so frustrating. And I would either swear, I had some choice words. My mother never swore, so I knew that would upset her. And then I'd have to apologize because I didn't want to upset her. But then, she would smile or pucker up for a kiss or have some funny comeback. And it was just great. And then she goes, how can I be mad? This person is got a lot more problems than I do. And she seems to be having a good time.
You had mentioned that your sister said 7-day limit. It's really good that she honestly admitted that.
Yeah. Yeah.
To openly admit that, because it is not everyone can do that 24/7.
Right. Yeah.
They just can't. And, it's nice when someone can say, I can do this much time, but then after that, I really can't. I won't be any good for mom or dad or whomever.
And believe them. when they tell
Yes.
you that, you say, yes, you have to honor that because, yeah, like you said, I don't know, I would have to say, yes, out of the six of us, not all of us were cut out to do this.
I applaud and really do truly have nothing but respect for those that do, because I know, and I've watched firsthand just through where I used to work, how very hard it is and tiring and
Mhm.
frustrating and sad and depressing it can be. And to find the joy, like you mentioned, can be very difficult at times.
Yep,
So
yep.
that you were able to do that and keep your mom happy and healthy and content and, beautiful is just, it's an amazing thing. So really glad that you were able to do that and provide all of that for your mom.
Yeah, me too. I mean, both of my parents were very cool. I mean, they were not only funny, but they taught us to think of others. That was my father's favorite prayer. And so we grew up being kind and courteous to other people. Not always, but you certainly try. They led by example, which was great. And my siblings are pretty much the same way. So I
And how
think,
fortunate you had parents like that.
yeah, yeah, I'm pretty lucky guy, I
Yeah.
would say.
And
Yeah.
you've had a very interesting journey. So, and they started it for you. They helped you, they made you.
Yes.
So,
Yes. And then the French side of my mom, it had something to do with me living here now,
yeah,
I guess. So
it's how it's all coming, how it all, your path was all laid out for you long before you even knew.
yeah, well, yeah,
And there you
good
are.
path. Good path.
Yeah. Well, thank you so much for being my guest. This has been an absolute pleasure to talk to you and get to know a little bit more about you and learn about your mom and dad. So thank you.
Yeah, thank you. I appreciate the opportunity and the time. And this was like sitting at the kitchen table having a conversation. It's
That's
lovely.
right. And
Yeah.
that's what I always hope my show is. That's why I always have a cup of coffee ready. You saw
Yeah.
me sipping while we were talking.
Yeah.
Thanks once again for being my guest. And I do want to keep in touch because I want to know when your next book comes out.
Slightly unsalted. Okay.
Yes, I do. I do want to know when it comes out,
Great.
because we'll have you back on. We can talk more about that then.
Oh, super. Okay. All
Awesome.
right. All right. Thanks very much.
All right. And everybody out there listening, thank you so much for tuning in to another episode of Let Fear Bounce. New episodes are up every Wednesday, folks, and they're on any listening platform as well as on YouTube. So thank you once again for tuning in. Everybody out there, this is Kim Lengling, your host of Let Fear Bounce. Be well, stay well, and be blessed. And that is a wrap, my fearless friends. Thanks for bouncing along with me on another episode of Let Fear Bounce. I hope you're feeling a bit motivated and ready to take on any challenge that might come your way in the coming days. Be sure to hit that subscribe button so you never miss an episode of Let Fear Bounce. Tune in each week for your dose of inspiration from my amazing guests from all over the world. So until next time, keep bouncing forward and stay fearless, my friends. Everybody be well, stay well, and above all, be blessed.